I was miserable. I went into 5K of credit card debt. I guess I was 20 at the time. Yeah, there was like no way out. Like I'm in tons of debt. I owe the game runners. I owe credit card companies. So, the only way out that I saw was like, okay, I just got to get better. I knew somebody that was killed. I knew another guy who had to flee the province because he was so deep in gambling debt that it's like there's people after him.
Today's guest is Nathaniel Knox, a poker player turned gambling addict who exposes the dark side of the underground poker world. But before we dive into that, I have just one favor to ask from you. There's so many of you that watch this channel regularly, but you haven't yet hit that subscribe button. If you do me the favor of just hitting the subscribe button, then my promise to you in return is that I'm going to continue to work hard each and every day to spread the message that gambling addiction is real, but so are the resources to get help. Let's dive into it. So before the call, you were telling me that your gambling kind of stemmed from competition and community that you had when you were playing Magic the Gathering. Could you tell me what that is? What is Magic the Gathering?
Yeah, so it's a card game. You collect cards, you make decks, and you play against people. And there's a whole tournament scene where if you pay your entry fee, you win a bunch of matches, and then you could win, there's kind of top prizes for like the best finishes in that tournament.
So it sounds kind of like poker, and I know that's later on in your story, but like poker in the same sense as like it's a card game that has luck involved and you're trying to win this grand prize at the top of the tournament, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of the people that I was friends with in the community actually told me like, oh, I think you'd be really good at poker because I showed like success kind of in the Magic arena first.
Yeah, I've actually just recently spoken to someone who was very big into like collecting, and he developed an addiction to that. But collecting really wasn't the aspect of your problem with Magic the Gathering, was it? It was more the competition?
Yeah, it was the competition and the idea of like a big prize, getting something for nothing, I guess, basically. You pay like $100 to enter a tournament and you might win like 1,000 plus. And that was exciting to me, especially because, I was 17. I didn't really have a good job or anything. So, that amount of money was a lot. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, take me through the experience. Like you had mentioned that there was a tournament where you actually won a trip to Barcelona. Take me through that tournament.
So that tournament, it was local, and it was like kind of a local big tournament, and I just played. I got pretty lucky and earned a top spot, but that definitely got me like hooked on kind of the idea of winning. And I had no idea that it was really like kind of gambling adjacent or anything like that, or I would even say that it is gambling, to be honest. I just really liked it, and I won this trip to Barcelona. I think I did like decently well in Barcelona. Then I just wanted more and more and more. And I wanted to just keep winning, keep getting that feeling again.
So when you came back from Barcelona, you entered more tournaments then?
Yeah, so I entered a bunch of tournaments. I stopped going to school because I had graduated pretty early for college. Then I just like didn't want to go. I just wanted to travel and go to all these events and try to win. And, I was spinning my wheels really. Like, I wasn't really making much. I was like pretty broke most of the time, but I would have like these wins scattered that would kind of keep me afloat for the most part.
Sure. I hear a lot of people that are in like gambling recovery now that were former athletes. And I think that what it was for them, generalizing, is this sense of competition, like aspiring to be the best at something, proving your worth. How did you feel when you would win one of those tournaments? What would the feeling be like?
I felt like I was the best. Yeah. Like it was like validating, I guess, right?
Mm. Well, how did it become a problem then? Because in most cases, there's not really a problem with becoming better at something, right? Is this something that you can get better at?
Yeah, absolutely. There's like a really big skill part of it. It just became kind of a problem when I was just like throwing away other parts, just like chasing, and it was like very meaningless as well as just winning some money and just like chasing that to kind of the detriment of the rest of my life, right?
You start getting involved with poker with the same people that you were playing Magic the Gathering with. Walk me through that. What was that like?
COVID hit. I had actually just won a tournament in Reno that I had traveled to, and then I got COVID hit, so there was no traveling, and I was very bored. All of the friends that I had made were like kind of American, like overseas American, whatever. So I was pretty lonely as well, and I got invited to a poker game, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm good at Magic. I should be able to get good at poker, and I should be able to make money this way. I didn't really have any sort of like career aspirations at the time, so I kind of saw it as like, hey, there's some people that make like a ton of money at this. If I can get good enough, I can make a ton of money and then do whatever I want with the rest of my life.
In that first time that you played poker, did you feel like it was a similar experience?
Yeah, pretty similar. The amount of money was a lot bigger. So, I normally was entering a tournament for like $50 to $100 for the Magic, and then for the poker, it was like straight up to like 400 for
Oh,
a buy-in. So it was like that was pretty stressful, I guess. And then the wins were a lot bigger as well. So just that kind of roller coaster was a lot more intense than I was used to.
and did you find early success with the poker? Like, what was it like in the beginning?
Not really. No, I kind of got my ass kicked for the first like I want to say year or so, and that should have been kind of maybe a warning sign or something. But I thought, okay, like yeah, maybe I'm not great right now, but if I get good enough,
Mm.
then it'll be okay. I mean, I was miserable. I went into credit card debt, so because this was during COVID, so
Yeah.
went into about 5K of credit card debt. I guess I was 20 at the time. Just could not get it together. I bought in one time for 400, and I had won up to 5,000 at the same night. I was sitting with that money in front of me, 2 or 3 a.m. at this point at some office that they were renting out to run the game at, and I just could not get up, and I just like it was like 6 a.m. and just all of it was gone, and it was just like, oh my gosh. I got a job working asbestos removal, which is kind of an old building material that's like dangerous for lungs. So you like put on a suit and everything to get it out there, and work that for like around like $400 a week, and then just turn around and try and get my money back and like lose it and go back. And that was kind of a cycle for a long time.
I can relate to that. I mean, I just remember like when I would play poker, just buying in over and over and over again because I would have losses. And so, yeah, no, I can very much relate to not being able to get up and leave. When you were doing that, you had mentioned that, you were using it as a way to socialize. It was a way to kill time. There was some boredom there, but it was also kind of that sense of competition. How much did the money matter?
I mean, the money mattered a lot to me because I was broke. So like, I wanted some. I think a big part of it as well is that I looked up to a lot of the guys because I had grown up with them because I started playing Magic when I was 12. So I had known a lot of these guys for like 7-8 years, and I looked up to them, and I was just like, yeah, I want to like show these guys what I'm made of. I want to beat them. I want to make money, and yeah.
So then it's building up now. You're starting to find yourself in credit card debt. When does it reach its kind of like worst? Is it all happening during COVID?
So it gets yeah, I guess pretty hopeless during COVID. I started to get extended like credit and stuff by the game runners. I helped run the game at some point to try and like get some money and just like pulling more people into it, which I don't feel very good about. Yeah, I was like stealing stuff to like pay for buy-ins, and at the time I justified it a lot of the time because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna pay it back, like because I'm gonna win, and so like that's kind of the justification. And then I'm just like, oh great, like now I got to do it again or whatever. So just like a total mess on that kind of front. And then I got into a backing deal. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you're not familiar, backing deal is somebody who has like more money, and they like, okay, I think you can win at poker, so I'm gonna front you the money, and if you lose it, you got to win it back through poker. You don't have to pay it back. It's not a loan, but you'll have to win it back through poker. And if you win, we'll split the amount. So the people that were running the game at the time offered to back me. That was like my whole life. I was just like playing nonstop, and I wasn't that good, which was kind of an issue. So like I wasn't making, I was probably winning, but like very, very small amount, not really enough to live off of. Yeah, I guess some point around there would probably have gotten the worst because, I was just, yeah, there was like no way out. Like I'm in tons of debt. I owe the game runners. I owe credit card companies. I have like, it's COVID. So it's like very difficult to like get a job. And, the only way out that I saw was like, okay, I just got to get better and like try to figure out how to win.
Did the game runners that were backing you know that you were losing money? Like, I don't know why why were they backing you?
They do. Well, so they thought that I could be winning money in the games, but like overall, just because of like stupid decisions, whatever, they thought that I was probably losing money overall. But I mean, backing somebody generally isn't the smartest decision. I would say in poker.
Yeah, fair enough. It does sound like it becomes like this situation where, and I get this, I hear this a lot, and it's in my own story. It's like we feel like gambling more is the only way out, even though gambling's what's creating the problems. At this point that it's beginning to build up and it feels like there's no way out, like what's your first priority then? Is it paying off the credit card companies or is it paying off the backers?
At the time, it should have been one of those two things, but honestly, the for me it was just like accumulating more money with myself so that I could play higher, so that I could just make more. And kind of the
Mm-hmm.
justification for me was like, oh, if I have like tons of money, then I can just pay it off and it won't even like feel bad to pay off. But at the time it kind of felt, and there's also a justification where like you do need money to play, so it's like, oh, if I'm paying off, then I won't be able to play anymore. Like,
That's true. You're giving out your fuel. Is there a specific night that you decide like I'm done, and then how does that kind of go?
honestly, no, because kind of what happened after that. So I got into a different backing deal
Mm-hmm.
with like an online like company that was gave me some coaching. So I thought that I could get a bit better. And at this point, things were opening up. So I went back to school, and then I kind of found some community, and that really helped. And I got a girlfriend at the time, and that was like also really helpful. So kind of I think the most like degenerate kind of behavior kind of lessened, even though I was like very much still addicted. The behavior wasn't quite there because I had other stuff in my life that was
Sure.
important and I cared about, and I had like new priorities. Yeah, so that would have been, I guess, probably around like 2021, 2022, something like that.
So then life's getting better as you're finding things to do with your time. It's becoming better generally, but the addiction's still there.
Yep, so I'm
You
still
know,
playing. I'm
yeah.
still that's how I paid for my school. I paid for food, gifts for my girlfriend, whatever. I was still just playing poker at that point.
When does it start to wind down then?
So it really starts to wind down when I moved out with my girlfriend. So like a thing that really sucks about poker is the people,
Mm.
because it just rewards like very selfish behavior. So I knew somebody that was killed because of their gambling debts. It was like them and their partner that in some sort of drug ring that they were involved in. I knew another guy who had to flee the province because he was so deep in gambling debt that it's like there's people after him, and it's like I don't want to be associated with this. And I'm thinking that it's an in-person type thing. I'm thinking that it's mostly live poker where this
Mm.
is. So I'm thinking, okay, if I just stick to online,
Mm.
I'm gonna find more of like the competitive nerdy people that are just really there for the competition. So I was back with a backing company that had me in these games, and I had a pretty big win before I moved out, so I won about like 50,000 in the span of I think a week. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna move out and kind of try to take it more, just like be like very careful with everything. Kind of just hit a down spiral
Mm.
on the backers' money, so I ended up about $36,000 in makeup. So it's not like debt in the sense that I'm not meant to pay it back from my own money, but they want me to win it back through poker. And when I got that much in debt, they approached me to cheat, maybe is like strong word, but definitely like break the rules to
Mm.
give myself an advantage in the game with other kind of members of the company. And that for me was really the point where I was like, I'm done with it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like,
Mm.
I hate the people that I'm associating with. This isn't me. I want out. So they wanted me to sit on a table with other members of the company and share profits at the table, which incentivizes cooperation between players on the table. And that's not even the act of like profit sharing on the table is against TOS. It's like frowned upon, whatever. So I wasn't down to do that, and I told them that, and then they moved me down in stakes. So I was playing like $2,000, $2,500 buy-in games, and they moved me all the way down to $100 buy-in when
Oh,
I'm like $36,000 in makeup, and it's like I can't make that amount. Like, there's no way that this is happening. I don't think I'm being treated fairly, and it's like how do you even get out of that? I have no way to make money myself because like poker was the only way that I really knew how to make money. I don't have a proper job. I'm still in college. So I kind of explained it to them, and I was like, "Hey, I want a third party opinion on this. Like, I don't think I'm being treated fairly." And then they basically fired me and wrote like a smear post about me saying like, "Oh, did he scam us? Is he like did he go crazy? Is he just no longer able to win? Like, we don't really know. So they're kind of like, so that I can't like take any action really against them. But they're just like, yeah, we don't really know what's going on. Did he scam us? Is he unable to win? Who knows? And, I was already done with it at that point, but that like, definitely sealed the deal for me.
This was pretty recently then, just within the last year?
Yep.
Yeah. And so that was, I guess, about 6 months ago. Has there been a compulsion to continue to play or to continue to gamble?
A little bit. So, for me, it's not so much compulsion as in like career or competitiveness, but like still that feeling of like getting something for nothing. Or like, because I'm still broke. So like, there's always that just like, okay, I've done it before. And then it's just like, why would I put myself through this again?
Fair. No, that's totally fair. So what have you been up to then in the last 6 months?
I've been making a lot of rap music. I make rap music in school, just finishing up school, reading a lot, just trying to, bring healthy stuff into my life more so.
That's good. It sounds like it would be tough. And this is again, like, I wasn't in your position, so I don't know. But it sounds like it would be tough to go from like 100 miles an hour. What do you use kilometers there? 140 kilometers an hour to like zero almost. It feels like really like a slowed down life. How have you been adjusting to that?
I don't know. I don't really miss that kind of excitement, I guess. It definitely was exciting. It was a very fast lifestyle. But it was up and down, right? So like the downs were just so dark and hopeless, and the highs were like, I'm just like, I'm going to be a millionaire. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting because throughout the story, like I can tell the negatives that are stemming are obviously coming from big losses, but then more so like bad business ethics on the side of your backers that have led to this kind of feeling.
So, I mean, there's that, and it's just the people in general. Like, who you present yourself as is who you attract in your life, right? So I attracted a girlfriend that wanted my money. And that's not really the type of thing that I was like looking for. That's not personally what I was like, what I want. When you think about how you're presenting yourself, because like I told people, I'm just like, yeah, I'm a poker pro. I didn't tell them how much I was making, but I was like spending a lot as well. That's going to attract a certain kind of person, especially given like people don't view poker as a positive thing. So it's like they're going to look past that because you're making them, and it just attracts a very certain type of person into your life. The kind of person who plays poker professionally is just very likely to be, it's just not a good community.
I understand. But so what I'm trying to gauge here is, would you then go as far as saying that you were addicted to gambling?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially, I think the strongest piece of evidence was when I've got like all this money sitting in front of me, I can pay off like all my debts and everything, and I just can't get up. And
the compulsion to keep going.
Yeah, so I think but I do think that there's two kind of addicts to gambling. I think there's like the person who's losing a lot, and like that's one form of addiction. But I think there's also like people that are winning. You see it actually a lot at the top in poker, which another piece of evidence it's not worth going after is like, you look at these guys, they're millionaires and they can't keep it together. Like, I think like Tom Dwan is in like, I don't know if you're familiar, but he's like a very he's in like mountains of debt. He's like basically owned by these like shady individuals. You've got some online pros that are just like mental breakdowns and just like lose like all their hard-earned money. They get robbed by their girlfriends, by people that have it out for them. It's just it's very brutal. It's a very brutal arena.
I'm so used to these conversations that I have going basically through this like trajectory, right? Someone tries gambling for the first time, they slowly become hooked to it, they get a big win, then they keep chasing after it, so they get a big loss, they end up in debt, they end up with consequences, the consequences overwhelm them, so they seek out recovery. That doesn't seem to mirror your story, which is why I was trying to like piece it together here at the end. But it's still, it goes to show there's another side of addiction.
Yeah, so I think it's quite, and I know some people that like seem to be like, for the most part, good people that just believe that they can, and they're winning players. So like that's the thing, like they do make money from it, but it is destroying their life and they don't see it because they're only accepting kind of one version of it where it's like, oh, I'm a gambling addict if I lose money. And that's so like a lot of people, when I told them like, yeah, I make money at it, and they see that I'm making money at it like relatively consistently, and then it's like, oh, okay, he's fine, he's winning, right? But there's like another kind of side that I think people haven't really talked about yet.
No, it's very important that we dive into it because I think that's a conception a lot of people have is like it's all about the money. So you start to experience the negatives of an addiction when you start losing. That's true in most people's stories, but it's not been your case. And so it's been really interesting having this talk so far. What are I'm trying to think of like a good segue to keep explaining or keep exploring that topic. You know, like what are some of the things other than the finances that are negative of your experience with gambling? Because if you're up money, you know, it's all good,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, the stress. So I don't know if it's visible on here. Yeah, it might be. I have some gray hairs that are like
Mm,
popping up. It is definitely cropped up around like the most stressful part. It's just you're under constant stress. It's like you're just going into battle every single day, and you're putting your basically life on the line, just like risking your money and everything. Is very, very stressful lifestyle. I don't think it's healthy.
there's probably people that are watching this though that are in debt.
Mm-hmm.
They're down money right now, and so they're probably thinking like, dude, like if I was up money, I wouldn't have any problems in my life. Like, what would you
That's
say
what
to
I
that
thought,
person?
man.
Yeah.
I was in that exact same spot. I
Mm,
was in that exact same spot, and I had the thing that people dream of in that spot where it's like, oh, I turned it all around. I had some money for once, and it doesn't change anything. It's really not about the money. It's just you're in a unhealthy lifestyle. Like it's you're not in an environment where you can thrive. Because I knew quite a bit of people in the community. There was maybe one person out of like the 1,000 people that I knew that could actually manage it, and he's like one of the number ones. He's just wired very differently, and I thought I was wired that way. I thought I could be this emotionless robot, just do whatever the best decision is, and I just can't. Like,
mm,
you might think you can do it, but it's not worth it,
mm.
and probably you can't do it. Like, you just can't. Like,
So I guess one more point that I would want to kind of know more about since you were so deeply involved with this community is like how does this all connect with like the criminal side of things? I think like people have this stereotype of like gambling and crime going back to like the 70s when the mob was involved with it. Like what's it like in the poker space and maybe give us some insights into what's kind of been shady in your experience.
yeah, absolutely. So, very closely related. Yeah, but it's not immediately evident because they've kind of figured out that you really want people to feel safe if
Mm,
they're gambling with you, so they make these efforts to like tell people that they're vetting everybody and is all safe and everything's fine. And I've played with gangsters, drug dealers, just like everybody, from kind of that walk of life. And this is all just one degree of separation. Like, I might not know these guys personally, but I was friends with people who were friends with these guys, who got
sure.
into bed with them, like from a business perspective. So I would go to these like games that are run by gangsters in the back of like cafes, and
Mm,
it's like kind of like it's kind of scary, to be honest. I was playing at this one guy's game. It was again, he's just like very much like very close to these guys. And from that point, when you're borrowing money, because a lot of people, they get into debt and they end up borrowing money eventually, especially in the poker world. It's very normalized, and the reason that it's normalized is because the people view it as a way to make more money, basically. Because
mm,
if somebody's sitting down, they lose 400. If you loan them another 400, and you think that you can go after them, you think that they can pay. Like, if they leave, they're not playing anymore. But if you lend them, they're going to keep playing and they're going to keep losing money. So lending money gets pretty normalized in this community. And then, but depending on who you're borrowing money from, and you really don't know. Like, you might think like I mentioned, the company that I was working with threatened to sell my makeup to. They're just like, oh, we're going to sell it to a third party. And there's no business standard for them to do that, but they're like
mm,
just threatening it anyways. In the games, if you borrow from the wrong people, like they're going to come after you. So I mentioned I knew somebody that got killed, and it's because like they were gambling addicts and they got into debt with the wrong people, and they kept screwing people over because they're gambling addicts. And eventually it just got to the point where they were like, it was like two people, like two partners, and they told one of them like, hey, we're gonna like kill you both unless like you kill her, and he did it. And yeah, like that.
That's like
And
a movie.
but the crazy thing is it's like a movie, but there was no backstory. Like, it just happened. You kind of know these people are like screwing people over, and then it just like very quickly gets out of hand.
Were there any times where you were playing where you felt like physically unsafe?
I mean, so there was a gangster game, I guess, in the back of a Vietnamese cafe, and I felt like very uncomfortable there. Apart from that, because I was a younger guy, so I think a lot of people just kind of, yeah, if I said something that was like kind of rude or like unintentionally rude, if somebody's having a bad day or whatever, I generally got like pretty good treatment. So I wasn't personally, threatened. Yeah, no, I can't say I was.
Well, after all that, are you happy to be away from it?
Yeah.
Gotta find a positive to end on it after the threatening for the double murder turning into a single murder coming into the back of a cafe. We had to find a way to get some positivity on the end.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, man. So I mean, do you ever see yourself going back to it?
No. Like, I've got like, I'm working on the rap stuff. I've got like a path when it comes to like biology, like that's what I'm studying in school right now. And, I've got like actual like plans. It's not happening, man.
Got you. That's good. I'm happy to hear it, man. Well, congrats on the 6 months away from it. I'm glad things are going better. Thank you for being here and sharing your story. And to anyone in the audience that wants to hear another story of someone in recovery, check out this video next. Let's keep getting better together, one day at a time.